I put myself in the way of the opportunities of heaven. I remember somehow, miraculously, I got voted in to lead the Christian Union at our school. And I was a typical geek, but the Lord somehow managed to use me to spark something of a mini revival in our school where we saw numbers of people getting saved and filled with the Spirit. We would have meetings where the presence of God would come down so strong that people were falling out in the classroom that we were doing our Christian Union meetings. But I remember when I got voted in to be the Christian Union chairperson, feeling the fear that I would have to lead Bible studies with sometimes groups of up to 40, 50 people. How could I do that? I don't want to do that. And I put myself in the way of opportunity. I said, you know what, God? I cannot deny that you are orchestrating some events. I'm going to step out in faith. And guys, I want to tell you, the first few times was absolutely incredibly awful. But Jesus broke in. I began to discover the confidence of heaven, the delight of my Father in me risk-taking. And as I took more risks, God began to open up more doors. As I began to share with my nervousness, with my fear, it wasn't like that disappeared. It just suddenly began to be eclipsed by and overwhelmed by the wonderful person of the Holy Spirit who was empowering me. Friends, I want to tell you, your weakness is a conduit of God's purpose and power. And when you realize that even the thing that you think is the most disqualifying part of your life, that was my ability to speak. I'm called to prophesy. I'm called to be a prophet to the nations, yet I can't speak. How is that going to happen? Even in that, God comes and he says, your weakness, your disqualifying factor that you think, I am now going to empower for my purpose. And do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to confound the wise. Friends, I get to sit in front of millionaires. I get to sit in front of politicians. I get to sit in front of many people. And God has been faithful to use me to demonstrate his purposes, even through my weakness. One of my heroes in revival history is a woman called Catherine Kuhlman. I just love her because she's so passionate, eccentric, and wild. And I remember listening to her once where she preached on the incredible cost of walking out the purposes of God. And she said, dear friends, I remember the day that Catherine Kuhlman died. I can take you to the place. And then she said to a group of students at a university, she said, God is not looking for golden vessels. God is not looking for silver vessels. God is looking for healed vessels. And the overwhelming principle of overcoming fear connected to your weakness, and the overwhelming factor that helped me overcome my debilitating fear of speaking publicly, was I simply decided to yield to God's purposes. Because when you yield, he will use you.